dear learners, welcome to lecture 1 of child's growth and development. Lecture 1 is meaning, definitions, characteristics and nature of growth and development. We will going to cover meaning of growth and development, definitions of growth and development, characteristics of growth and development, nature of growth and development, and dimensions of development. Finally, we will conclude and there are certain references. So today we are going to cover one of the most fundamental concepts in developmental psychology, that is growth and development. Although the two terms are often used together, they are not the same. Both are closely related, yet they convey different meanings. Let's see what is the meaning of growth. The term growth refers to the quantitative physical changes that occur in the body over a period of time. It is related to increase in size, height, weight and structure of the organs. Growth can be measured directly in units such as centimeters or kilograms. It mainly plays during the early years of life and continues until physical maturity is reached. Growth is primarily biological in nature and it is influenced by heredity, nutrition, health and other environmental conditions. Let's see an example. When a child's height increases from 100 centimeter to 120 centimeter between the ages of 5 and 7 years, this is known as growth. Similarly, an increase in body weight or muscle size also indicates growth. Let's see meaning of development. The term development refers to the qualitative and functional changes that occur in a person over a period of time. It involves not only physical changes but also intellectual, emotional, social and moral changes that help an individual become more mature and capable. Development is a systematic and progressive changes that occur in an individual from conception till death. Development is a continuous and lifelong process. It proceeds from simple to complex forms and is a result of both maturation as well as learning. For example, when a child learns to speak, to express feelings or to make friends, these are the signs of development. These changes cannot be measured directly but can be observed through improvement in behavior and abilities. Let's see some of the definitions of growth and development, and we will start with growth. Crow and Crow defined growth as structural and physiological changes that take place in an individual due to the multiplication and enlargement of cells. E.B. Hurlock. Growth refers to quantitative changes that occur in the size and structure of the body and its organs from birth to maturity. Sigmund Freud defined it as the biological unfolding of the individual's inherited potentials. J.P. Guilford said it is an increase in bodily dimensions or parts of the body and can be measured objectively. A.O. Ross. Growth means an increase in the size, height, weight, length and volume of the body and its organs. However, Skinner defined it as the process of physical maturation, increasing in size and function that results from the multiplication of cells and tissues. Now let's see some of the definitions of development. Crow and Crow defined it as the changes in the organism as a whole, the integration of structures and functions that results in new capabilities, capacities. Hurlock defined it as a progressive series of changes that occur in an orderly, predictable pattern as a result of maturation and experience. Garrett and Woodworth defined it as And he said it is not limited to the increase in size or quantity, but involves a progressive series of qualitative changes in behavior and abilities. J.P. Guilford defined development as the gradual unfolding of the characteristics and capacities of the organism which are already present in the germ plasm. R.J. Havighurst defined it as the process by which an individual grows and changes throughout the life cycle, moving from dependency to increasing autonomy. Jean Piaget defined development as a process which consists of progressive reorganization of mental processes resulting from biological maturation and environmental experience. Now, dear learners, we understood the meaning of and definitions of growth and development. Now, let us focus on the characteristics of growth, the key features that help us understand how human beings grow physically over the time. Growth is a quantitative and biological process that can be measured in terms of height, weight, and size. However, it does not occur uniformly or at the same rate for all individuals. The following points will help you understand the major characteristics of growth more clearly. Growth is a quantitative process. Growth refers to measurable changes in the size, height, weight, and structure of the body and its various parts. For example, if a child's height increases from 110 centimeter to 130 centimeter in 1 year, this measurable increase represents growth. Growth, it is a continuous process. Growth begins at the time of conception and continues until physical maturity is reached. It doesn't occur suddenly, but proceeds gradually through different stages of life. Let's see an example. A baby grows rapidly in the first few years of life, then slows down during middle childhood and again speeds up during adolescence. Growth occurs at different rates for different parts of the body. All parts of the body do not grow at the same speed. Some organs grow faster during certain stages, while others grow slowly. For example, the head and brain grow very quickly in the early years of childhood, whereas the arms and legs grow faster during adolescence. Growth follows an orderly pattern. It's very important. It usually proceeds from the head to the toe, and we say it is cephalocaudal, and cephalic means head, and from the center of the body to outwards, and this is known as proximodistal. For example, an infant first gains control over the head and neck before controlling the arms, hands, and feet. Next characteristic is growth depends on heredity and environment. Both heredity and environment influence growth. Heredity provides the genetic potential for growth, while environment such as nutrition, climate, and living conditions of the child helps in realizing that potential. Let's see an example. A child may inherit tallness from parents, but poor nutrition may prevent the child from reaching that full height. Growth shows individual differences. We all know that no two individuals grow at exactly the same rate. Differences in heredity, diet, health, and lifestyle cause variations in growth patterns. For example, two children of the same age both may learn to speak, but one may start earlier and the other later. Both are developing normally but at different rates. Growth is most rapid in early childhood, during infancy, and during adolescence. The speed of growth is not uniform throughout life. It is fastest during infancy and adolescence and slower in between. For example, during adolescence, children experience a growth spurt when their height and weight increase rapidly in a short period of time. Growth is measurable, we can measure it. Unlike development, which is qualitative, growth can be directly measured through standard physical parameters like height, weight, or body mass index. For example, a doctor regularly measures a child's height and weight to monitor his or her physical growth. Growth is temporary and stops after maturity. Growth does not continue throughout life. It usually ceases after the body reaches full physical maturity. For example, most individuals stop growing taller after the age of 18 to 21 years, although changes in weight or muscle tone may continue. And there are gender variations in growth. So we say growth varies between boys and girls. There are noticeable gender differences in growth patterns. Girls usually begin their growth spurt earlier than boys, but reach physical maturity sooner. For example, girls generally experience puberty around 10 to 12 years, while boys experience it around 12 to 14 years. Growth can be influenced by nutrition and health. Proper nutrition, exercise, and medical care are essential for normal growth. Lack of these factors can slow down or hinder the growth process. Let's see an example. Children who are malnourished or frequently ill may show delayed physical growth compared to healthy children. Growth can be observed and recorded. Since growth is measurable, it can be observed through regular measurement and recorded using tools such as growth charts. You have seen WHO growth charts for girls and boys of every age. These records help to identify normal or abnormal growth patterns. For example, in schools or health centers, children's height and weight are checked periodically to ensure they are growing properly for their age. Dear learners, we understood the meaning and characteristics of growth. Now let us focus on the characteristics of development, the features that help us understand how an individual progresses in different areas of life, such as physical, intellectual, emotional, social, and moral development. Development, as we know, it is a qualitative and continuous process that takes place throughout life. It is broader than growth and includes all types of changes that make an individual more capable and mature. Let us now explore its main characteristics. Development is a continuous process. It is not limited to any specific age. The changes may be slow, but they occur continuously throughout life. For example, a child learns to crawl, then to walk, to run, and later to play games. Each stage represents a step in continuous development. Development is sequential and predictable. Development follows a fixed and orderly sequence. Every child passes through certain stages in a definite order. Infancy, childhood, again we divided childhood into early childhood, middle childhood, late childhood, adolescence, adulthood, and old age. The rate of development may vary, but the sequence remains the same for all. For example, a baby first learns to sit, then stand, and finally walk. This sequence never changes. Development is an integrated process. All aspects of development are closely related. They are rather interrelated. Physical, intellectual, emotional, and social development influence each other. A change in one aspect affects the others. For example, when a child's physical coordination improves, it helps in playing with others, and it helps in social development and also builds confidence that is his emotional development. Development is lifelong. Every experience, challenge, and learning opportunity contributes to our development at every stage of life. For example, an adult learns new job skills or adjusts to family responsibilities, showing that development continues even after physical growth stops. Development shows individual differences. The pattern of development is the same for all, but the pace, degree, and quality vary from person to person due to heredity, environment, and life experiences. Let's see an example. Two children of the same age may both learn to speak, but one may start earlier and the other later. Both are developing normally but at different rates. Development moves from general to specific responses. In the beginning, children's actions are general and uncoordinated, but gradually they become specific and purposeful. For example, an infant moves its whole arm to reach a toy, but later learns to use fingers precisely to hold it. Development depends on maturation and learning. Development occurs due to both natural growth and environmental experiences. Maturation provides readiness, and learning helps in the expression of that potential. For example, a child cannot start writing until his or her muscles are mature enough, but proper training and practice make them skilled in writing. Development is predictable, but the rate varies. The general pattern of development is universal, but the speed at which it occurs differs among individuals. For example, most children begin walking around 1 year of age, but some may start a few months earlier or later, both within normal limits. Development is influenced by heredity and environment. Both heredity and environment play important roles in determining the direction and rate of development. Heredity provides the potential, while the environment helps in realizing that potential. For example, a child may inherit musical ability from parents, but this talent will develop only if proper training and opportunities are provided. Development moves from simple to complex forms. In the early stages, behavior and abilities are simple and unorganized. With maturity, with age, they become more complex and refined. A baby's simple babbling develops into clear words and later into meaningful sentences. Development shows correlation among different areas. A change in one area of development affects changes in other areas. Development, therefore, proceeds in an integrated and a balanced manner. For example, a child with emotional stability can concentrate better in studies, showing that emotional development supports intellectual development. Development is influenced by cultural and social factors. Cultural values, traditions of the family, and social expectations influence the pattern of development. Social relationships and cultural practices shapes personality, attitudes, and behavior. For example, children brought up in a cooperative family settings tend to be more social and helpful compared to those who grow up in isolated conditions. Dear learners, growth and development are interrelated. They occur from conception till the end of the life and help an individual reach maturity in physical, intellectual, social, and emotional aspects. Now, let's see the nature of growth and development. Growth and development are natural processes. They are universal processes that begin with conception and continue as long as life exists. Every child grows physically and develops intellectually and socially according to their own pace and pattern. Growth and development are continuous and lifelong. Growth is faster in early years and adolescence, while development continues even in adulthood through learning and experience. Growth and development follow an orderly and sequential pattern. Every individual passes through similar stages such as infancy, childhood, adolescence, and adulthood in a fixed order. A child first learns to hold the head, then sit, crawl, stand, and finally walk, showing a natural sequence of physical and motor development. Growth and development proceed from general to specific. In the early stages, behavior and physical control are general and uncoordinated. Gradually, these become specific and purposeful. For example, a baby first waves the arms generally when excited, but later learns to use the hands specifically to grasp the objects. Growth and development are influenced by heredity and environment. Both heredity as well as environment influence human growth and development. Heredity provides a basic potential while environment helps in its realization. For example, a child may inherit artistic ability from parents, but proper guidance and practice training are needed for the skill to develop fully. Growth and development show individual differences. Each individual grows and develops in their own unique way. Differences in heredity, nutrition, intelligence, and surroundings lead to variations in rate and pattern. Growth and development are interrelated. Physical growth supports development, and development in turn influences physical growth. One cannot be completely separated from the other. For example, as the brain grows in size and structure, cognitive, mental, intellectual abilities also develop, showing the interrelation between physical and cognitive development. Growth and development are affected by maturation and learning. Maturation refers to the biological unfolding of potential, while learning results from experience and practice. Together, they shape the pace and pattern of development. Growth and development proceed from simple to complex. Early behaviors are simple and unorganized, like in infancy, but they become more complex and coordinated as the individual matures. For example, a baby first coos and babbles while developing his or her language, later speaks simple words, one word utterances, two word utterances, and finally forms complete sentence. We say it is syntax, moving from simple to complex communications. Growth and development involve both quantitative and qualitative changes. Growth refers to quantitative changes, while development involves qualitative changes. Together, they represent total human progress. Growth and development depend on cultural and social factors. Social customs, family environment, cultural values greatly influence development. These factors shape a person's personality, habits, and behavior. For example, a child raised in a cooperative family culture learns to share and help others more easily than one raised in a highly competitive environment. Growth and development contribute to maturity and adjustment. Both aim to help an individual achieve maturity and adjust effectively to life. Through growth and development, one learns to think, feel, and behave appropriately according to age and the situation and the contexts. For example, an adolescent develops the ability to make independent decisions and adapt to new social roles, indicating maturity. Now let's see what are the dimensions of development. Development is not confined to physical growth but extends across several dimensions which together shape the holistic personality of the child. These are physical development, cognitive development, emotional development, social, language development, and moral development, and finally the most important, personality development. Let's see these in brief. Physical development. This dimension refers to the biological changes in body size, structure, and function. It includes growth in height, weight, motor skills, and brain development. For example, in the first 2 years, infants gain control over head and trunk movements before they learn to walk, illustrating the cephalocaudal trend. Cognitive development. The term coined by Jean Piaget, cognitive development refers to the progression of mental processes such as thinking, reasoning, memory, and problem solving. Children actively construct knowledge through interaction with their environment. For example, a child in the pre-operational stage, when he is or she is 2 to 7 years, can imagine a toy car as real, but cannot yet understand the principle of conservation of volume. Emotional development. This involves learning to recognize, express, and manage emotions. According to Erik Erikson's psychosocial theory, each developmental stage involves a crisis. Trust versus mistrust, autonomy versus shame, that shapes the emotional maturity as well. Social development. Social development refers to learning how to interact with others and forms meaningful relationships. Family, peers, and school play a significant role. For instance, children learn cooperation and empathy through group play. Language development. Language is a crucial tool for communication and cognitive growth. Lev Vygotsky emphasized the social origin of language. Children learn speech through interaction with adults and peers. Moral development. Moral understanding develops through socialization and reasoning. Lawrence Kohlberg identified 3 levels: pre-conventional, conventional, and post-conventional, through which moral reasoning progresses. Personality development. Personality integrates all aspects of development into a consistent pattern of behavior. It includes traits, motives, attitudes, and self-concept that make each individual unique. Finally, we can conclude the nature of growth and development is universal, continuous, and interdependent. It involves both physical and psychological changes influenced by heredity, environment, learning, and social conditions. Understanding their nature helps teachers and parents to guide learners effectively at each stage of their life. These are certain references. You can refer these books. Thank you and happy learning.